1. Gonna give it a second for the lag. What up, homeboys? I am live from my room. I am Sam Medina, the most handsome student in the southern hemisphere. And live from also my room is Jake from 3, the warrior expert, the warrior connoisseur. What's up, Jake? What are you doing in my room?
I'm enjoying it here. Enjoying the flags. Even did you keep the Argentine one up, or did somebody pay you to take that one down?
I never had an Argentine flag. Why would I do that? No, that's the Albanian one, yeah. I got every flag except that one. Yeah, ever since I started playing Age of Empires, I think that the capital of Argentina is Madrid now. Look at that. There you go. That's the one you're missing right there.
Perfect. That's right.
All right, so we got a lot to talk about today. Oh, we really gotta play Age of Empires. But you know what they are not gonna play today? BlizzCon got cancelled. There's no BlizzCon this year. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, so was it like planned to be a thing and then they canceled it, or they just never planned it at all? Like, how's that work?
Well, it's a bit of a plausible deniability kind of scenario here because, like, ever since the quarantine, they went 2 years without it. That broke the tradition. And now they did a 2023 one and they did a 2022 one, but like they kind of implied, I think, a while ago that they weren't gonna do it a yearly thing. I still think, from my end, that this is a very clear sign of weakness. I don't know how you would feel about it.
It is a little odd. I wonder why they decided not to do it.
We got a statement right here.
Well, how much cost to do?
Of course, the reason why they didn't do it is not going to be in the statement, but I might as well really give them a chance, you know? After careful consideration over the last year, we at Blizzard made the decision to not hold BlizzCon 2024. The decision was not taken lightly, as BlizzCon remains a very special event for all of us. We know many of you look forward to it. While we are approaching this year differently and we have explored different events formats in the past, rest assured that we are just as excited to bring BlizzCon back in future years. So let's see here. Over the next few months, we are going to be sharing more details about our launches coming this year, including World of Warcraft, The World Within, and Diablo 4's first expansion, Vessel of Hatred. To celebrate these upcoming releases and to bring our communities together in new special ways, we are going to do some exciting plans for other industry trade shows. Okay, so they are going to other people's conferences, like Gamescom. Where is Gamescom? I never heard of that one. E3 went
post. I got no idea.
So, like, there's no E3 anymore. So, yeah, I guess they gotta go there. And they are also gonna hold an Overwatch Championship, rest in peace. And DreamHack Stockholm. I like that they chose Stockholm. That's a really good analogy for the company right there. And we'll be thrilled to plan in multiple global in-person events. Okay, that seems cool. To commemorate the 30th anniversary of Warcraft. Okay, this right here is the weird part about it. It's the 30th anniversary of Warcraft. It is the 20th anniversary of World of Warcraft. And we're getting no BlizzCon. Like, if there's a bigger sign of weakness than that, I don't even want to know. Like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah, it's strange to me. I have a hard time imagining that long term they don't make money off BlizzCon. So I bet in the short term they just see it as this cost us like $20 million and made no money. But I just wonder, like, all the guilds that meet up there and stuff, like, that makes them money in very, very weird ways.
I mean, the ticket sales and the merchandise and all that, he's gonna make a decent amount of money. I don't know if he's gonna pay for the thing because renting a whole venue in LA is gonna be really super expensive. But, like, I don't think, like, to me, BlizzCon has always been a marketing tool. And what this means, from my point of view, is they got nothing to sell. Like, they did, like, I made fun of this when it happened, and I think I am being proven right here. Why would you announce 3 expansions in a row before they come out? Are you dumb? You ran out of announcements for like 6 years. What are you gonna do now? Like, what are they gonna announce in BlizzCon? They're gonna be like, we present to you the expansion we presented to you a year ago. Like what do they even do at that point? Overwatch is dead, StarCraft is dead, Diablo is getting 1 expansion. I guess that's the only thing they could possibly announce. Yeah, like, I feel like that's the main reason they are not going to do anything this year. They kind of ran out of stuff.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's wild, though.
Yeah.
I knew a lot of people who used to go there all the time. I've never gone to a BlizzCon, but I have a lot of friends that used to go pretty religiously.
It was like one of those MLM, those pyramid scheme cults when they do the pep talks and stuff, and like everybody has to go. Like everybody used to go. There were zealots of it, and like those people are gonna be really, really upset. It's one of the few times of the year that people get outside their homes, and now we lost it.
That's
So
funny.
they are saying they are moving to a strategy of live streaming stuff, kind of like Nintendo when they left E3, that kind of deal. I don't know how that's gonna work out. Blizzard has never been really good at announcing stuff. Let's be honest.
Yeah, they used to be like super long ago. Like I was watching the BlizzCon, I think it was BlizzCon, but they had a 2004 presentation. I believe it was at one of the early BlizzCon
Yeah,
about
2005 January, I
BWL and
think.
like game balance for.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it was like I don't know if it was a dev, but it was somebody talking about like how they designed BWL and their intentions for the game, and he was actually like talking about people wanting it to be hard for like no reason. He's like, the devs want like we want you guys to kill the bosses and get the loot. That's like the whole point of the dungeons. We want you to kill our babies.
yeah, that was Jeff Kaplan. Jeff Kaplan was
Ah,
a huge asset to WoW. They wasted his talent on Overwatch. Then that's what we got. That guy was like
fuck.
the angel of vanilla. He designed TBC on his own, basically. Everybody left. All the OG people left by TBC. We really miss Jeff.
So crazy.
Yeah, like Jeff is a good example of this whole thing, right? Because Jeff left before Overwatch 2 came out because he didn't want to have his name pegged to this thing. Like who do they got left? They got Metzen now. I guess Metzen could do an announcement, but I think all the personalities that you would have make an announcement now, like they are kind of gone. What do we got? Agrend? Okay, we're gonna have Agrend on stage now. I guess that's the last thing we got.
Yeah, I wonder, has he given any like announcements like that? He might be pretty good at it. But sure that they're not as free to announce like they used to. Like the old presentations felt so much more real and not like corporate speak. All the modern stuff's like corporate speak.
Well, it's because they got some substance behind it, right? Like, how do you like not have to mask yourself in corporate speak when you, after making fun of phone games, like a year before you make a phone game for Diablo? Like, as much as people made fun of the I forgot the guy that was presenting it. Like, what answer do you have to that? Like, you're gonna look bad. Like, I bet you, like they knew that before they went ahead. And yeah, like they are probably trying to save a ridicule here. Like they got nothing to announce really. Like what I said, like this makes them look super stupid because they announced the 3 expansions that follow. So are they gonna do like a presentation of the War Within that they already presented? Is that what's gonna happen? It's a marketing disgrace.
I wonder how retail players feel about expansions. I remember expansions felt very magical back in the day. I wonder if it still feels that way to retail players
Well, I
or if
know
it's just
so
like
many
whatever.
people that only play retail like the first 2 months of an expansion and never see it again, and they fall for it every time. So I think they are still kind of magical.
It's fucking hilarious. Good for them that they can enjoy the start.
Yeah, I don't know why. Like, I guess the new classes or the new races. Oh, and so many people wanted to roll a drag tier, and I'm like, why? Like, that's enough for some people. I guess you ain't gonna catch me paying $100 to do that.
Oh yeah, it's expensive. They fucking got my ass, dude. I tried some retails like $120 to get everything all set up. So
You got it
funny.
even worse because you started doing Mythic Plus. You actually believed it. Like most people just level up a
Mhm.
character and give up. They hit the first dungeon, they think it's hard, and they give up instantly. That's retail in a nutshell right now.
Yeah, definitely. Fucking Mythic Plus way harder than anything in class.
Absolutely. Like, I don't want to preserve the illusion right now. Like, I am a terrible player. I am scared of Cataclysm, guys. I think Cataclysm is gonna kick my butt. I'm gonna play a tank in Cataclysm. Tanking in Cataclysm is not easy. So I don't know. Do you fear Cataclysm? Do you fear the difficulty
I'm probably
curve
not
there?
gonna play it.
Ooh,
Yeah, I don't know.
spicy.
We'll see. I probably won't play it though.
What's up
Maybe I'd
with
play it if the people I'm doing SoD with end up playing it, but otherwise probably not.
no hype at all for Cataclysm?
Yeah, I don't want to do the leveling stuff again. I'm sure they're going to listen to their audience and they'll make it hard, and most guilds will just stop raiding, and the population will crash really fast all over again, I think.
Like at least in Cataclysm private servers, which are very hard, people are still happy to play it. Like I do think that they are gonna lose like half the Rato Elite Skin people. Like the question is gonna be, are they gonna be able to gain a new player base that isn't from Rato Elite Skin? Because those people are gonna check out the first minute they step into Conclave of the 4 wins, okay? When they tell them there's 2 tank swaps and like 3 jumps, they're gonna give up. I don't know what's gonna happen then.
Fun.
Oh, bro, the conflict of the 4 wins, you come from Rato Elite Skin, where like you just right click the boss and it dies, and then you go to that thing, and you got a tank swap, and you gotta move from one boss to the other, one guy messes it up, everybody dies, there's 4 bosses in the first pool. God help your soul, man. God help your soul. Cataclysm is gonna destroy a lot of egos.
Yeah, I am curious about how people like. Probably not going to be for me though, most likely not. Unless I have a bunch of friends playing it.
Yeah, that's
Couldn't
a
imagine
secret.
wanting to give it another go. I'll stick with this shit. Maybe I'll start playing Era some more if I need I'll start playing a lot more Era and hardcore. Maybe if SoD cannot soak up enough of my time.
You know, man, one thing about Era
Hopefully
that
the level
really...
60 shit takes a lot of time.
Oh, yeah. You know, one thing about Era that really gets me now that I played SoD is I don't think I can play Era anymore. It's too slow. I just don't feel whole anymore. Like, how am I gonna go back to Era and go like and like play knowing that I'm missing 400 DPS? That's gonna be a challenge emotionally for me. Like, I don't know if they thought about that.
Yeah, I want to do like MC and BWL seriously again. That'd be fun on Era, but if you go to Era right now, it's hard to get people to do anything seriously other than Nax. And even most Nax groups, they only care about the gear, not about actually getting better as players or as a guild. So that's an issue with Era.
Hasn't that always been the case?
Yeah, I mean, in 2020, you could find people who are passionate about stuff pretty easy.
I mean, like, one thing I know people hate parses, but one thing that, like, parses got out of people is, like, people used to think that a lot, that, like, once you get the gear, you're done. There's nothing to try more. And, like, parses unmasked a bunch of people in that sense, you know? Like the knowing that you can beat the guy in your raid that gets all the gear just by being good because you know he sucks. I don't know if I can live without that now. Yeah, Era's economy is completely devastated. That's not gonna be fun. We should get a fresh
most
Era.
of the inflation goes to like items, so it's not a huge deal with like affording stuff. But if you don't do any GDKPs, it'd be hard to afford consumes. But if you did like a ZG GDKP twice a week, that'd probably pay for all your consumes.
That's what I plan to do, honestly, when I hit Cataclysm. If they do not ban GDKPs, let's see about that. I'm just gonna do 2 GDKPs a week and I'm gonna pay for myself. That's gonna be the strat. Like, that's gonna keep me playing, honestly. Like, I bet you there's a lot of people in SoD right now that are feeling the same way.
Yeah, some of the consumes are pretty expensive, like firewater. That shit's pretty expensive. The flasks are fine. Most of the other shit's fine, but the fucking firewater is crazy.
It took him so long to fix the Black Lotus thing, man. That's why I quit personally. Like, it took me like 6 hours to find my consumables for the raid. I'm like, I'm done. It's not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
I may not have a life, but I don't want to waste it like this.
Yeah, back in the day, I didn't really use flasks until AQ. I wish I would have used them earlier, though. It would have made BWL a little more fun, but it was very expensive.
Yeah, you know,
Very, very
like, what I
expensive.
used to do is I would get like a level 5 food and level 5 potions, elixirs, whatever, and I would just stack them all together, and I would look from the outside in like I had a gazillion bucks, but I had like 10 silver worth of stuff on me. Because I was like so checked out by then. Then they noticed, and that's when everything went to hell. I don't think I am doing that again.
Yeah, I used to make most of my gold just from like doing 5-man dungeons with people before AQ.
Yeah, that's
which wasn't great gold farm, but I liked
exactly.
doing them, so it was enough. It was a shit gold farm though, of course.
If the consumable prices are not that insane, it's not that bad. The problem is that when you get to like that point, you gotta do the optimal farms. Like if you play a class that isn't good at farming gold, like I was playing a druid, that's the people that get shafted the most. Like I'm a healer, I got no money, and I had to level up a mage to farm gold on it. Like how is that healthy for the game? I don't know, I'm so happy that we're not living in those times anymore. Despite all the changes you can complain to Blizzard about, I think like the Lotus change was a great change.
Yeah, I'd like it if they had bosses drop a lot of gold, and if maybe it was tied to some inflation metric where it's like they can make it so if you kill every boss in the current phase raid, you're guaranteed to get enough money to pay for your consumables, and they somehow tie it to like average auction house prices. I don't know, that might not work, but I bet it would.
I don't
And it
know,
would
maybe
probably
just make it drop
buying gold
a
really
trade
expensive.
good. I don't know, make it drop like, I don't know, the shard of the Black Lotus. You get 100 shards and you'll get a Black Lotus. I don't know, that don't need to be that creative on it. You know, like something you can sell that will be inflation neutral. That something that would even drive prices down, you know, because there's more supply or something. That's maybe how I would do it.
Yeah, something where it makes it so that way for a player, you have a farm that a bot can't do, and that is far superior to what a bot could do. That's like what my goal would be. But I think it'd be really nice if it's tied to the fun gameplay, or like PvP. It could even be like for every unique person you kill in a month, you get gold or something. I don't know. I mean, something weird though. That's hard. But like raids, if raiding could get you enough gold to pay for everything in raids, I think that would make the game a lot more fun.
I mean, that's the TVC approach. You don't quite pay for your stuff raiding, but you get the dailies. You do like 2 dungeons, you get like a chunk of gold. You do your PP dailies, you get a chunk of gold. Kind of that stuff. Like daily quests would help. I mean, we're already at the incursions. I don't think there's like much concern for inflation anymore. Like, how much can you outpace incursions at that point on the inflation part of it, you know? We're not even gonna know this.
Yeah, I wonder how good bots are at doing incursions, because if they're very bad at doing them, or they don't do them at all, then having a lot of inflation there, I think, could be good for the game. Players like really worried about that, but like I think like a lot of people aren't thinking about like the actual macroeconomics of like what these bots are really doing. I would be okay with massive. I think anybody should be okay with massive inflation if the extra money ends up in the hands of players. And like the same way, like the problem with the massive inflation in the real world is that it's ending up in the hands of financial institutions and not like laborers.
Yeah, I've been sold that one before. We're gonna print money and we're gonna give it to you in welfare. Yeah, we're not gonna screw you this time. I live in Argentina, okay? I heard that one before. I wouldn't fall for it.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh no.
It's like if
we're gonna spend it on
if
healthcare,
regular players
guys.
got the money, it's whatever. Fuck.
It doesn't work, brother. It doesn't work.
Yeah, in the game, I think there's ways where like they have so much more sophisticated data on how the game economy works than what we can ever get in
I mean,
real
they are literally God. If they want to shut down gold printing tomorrow, they can. Like, it's not that hard. You know what's funny about WoW? Like, this might be a little bit off topic, but you know how in WoW everybody knows inflation is stealing money. Everybody knows inflation is a scam, and then they come to the real world and they are like, "Where does this inflation come from, man? This is like magic. It just appears out of nothing, man. There's no way the government can stop it."
That shit cracks me up, how people are more worried about the economics in the game than they are about economics in the real world generally. That is so fucking funny to me.
It's hilarious, man.
The goofiest.
And this is even not that bad, because at least the normal people can print gold. You know, every time you kill a mob, you print gold. Yeah, it's just hilarious.
Yeah, I'd really like it if fucking bosses just dropped a fuckload of gold. Like they could turn the auction house off for a couple days, convert everybody's gold to like whatever assets in the game are most inflation protected. And then like if they did this, they fucking nobody can trade at all for like 3 days. They take everyone's gold completely out of their bags. Everybody has 0 gold, or like everybody like with more than like 5
Bolshevik revolution, yes.
1 second, I might die in hardcore. Oh, I live.
Not a great idea to play hardcore on it.
Yeah, that was a fucking spooky. But yeah, like shut down all trading, look at everyone's inventory, give them like tokens that you can exchange for a variety of trade goods, like, and make it in ratios to like the token's value is like tied to auction house prices for those. So like a token for a mongoose maybe could get you 3 strength elixirs instead. Something like that. Then strip everybody's gold away and then change the gold economy any way you want radically. So like I think something like that, it would minimize the amount of people who get fucked, because anybody holding gold would get fucked by the massive inflation. But then like you could just literally make it so raid bosses drop like 1,000 gold for every boss you kill. And that is going to fuck bots. That would fuck bots so fucking hard. Because like unless bots can go bot the raids,
I
they're not going to be able to do raw gold farms. It would make raw gold farms pointless.
I think that's one of the main reasons that Albion Online, for example, I come from that game. Like they had like a very small bot problem for many reasons, but one of the reasons is that the way you make gold in Albion Online is the way you play like any other game. You just raid. Like raiding is where you get gold, PvP and killing people because it's a full loot game. That's where you get gold. Something like that. I don't think it will be toxic to the game at all. Like if push come to shove, if you think that the inflation goes way out of hand, you can like even counterbalance it, put a gold sink in the game that is like you can buy a flask a week for a set amount of gold. And like that gold disappears of the economy, you know? Like there's so many things they could do to keep prices down. I don't know if they dare doing that. I don't know if they care even. I don't know, because like selling tokens. Never know, man. Never
Man,
know
that's really smart. I like that idea. Like you find an expensive item, like you said, like a flask. Maybe if a flask was 200 gold, you let somebody like once a month buy a flask for half price off a vendor.
And you gotta kill a raid
like
to
that.
get it, so bots cannot do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like you gotta kill a raid that week to get it. That's the way I would do it.
That something like that is so smart. Shit like that would be great. Just things to make it so that way RMT becomes cost prohibitive to people. Because that's the big issue, is like it makes so much sense to fucking buy gold. That's why it exists. It makes a lot of sense. If they make it not make as much financial sense, then it will limit it.
I mean, it will always make financial sense, I guess. But like, if you leave people with like without the greed to buy gold because they can sustain themselves without needing to farm gold, and the only people that RMT is the people that want to get rank 14s or whatever the heck they want to get, like whatever, like they want to get the purple super edge masters for like 1,000 gold. Well, that guy maybe is gonna RMT, but like there is so like there are some people like back in the day. I don't think it's the case anymore though. But like back in the day, like I knew a guy that like he just wanted to raid, and like since he only had like a few hours a week to play, I don't know, like 10 hours, something like that. You know, very reasonable to do raids, but not like much like he was buying like 2,000 gold a month just to raid. Like that the people they shafted with the consumables. Like when the normal player is the one that has to RMT, it's like completely stupid. When the tryhard that is like a billionaire and he wants to spend $3,000 on a sword asset, I don't think that's a big deal, honestly. Like people were very outraged about that GDKP thing, and I get it. Like that guy should have been banned. But like I don't think like the economy is gonna suffer much from one guy buying a $3,000 sword in Nax as they're gonna be when like everybody has to RMT to even play.
Yeah, I think that's the big issue, is like what's the average player's experience? How's the average player's experience getting degraded from RMT? I don't like, because always the most expensive stuff in the game, the rarest stuff, will be unattainable to the average player. So like I agree with you. If there was no RMT, like things would be percent, like on a percent basis, like the most expensive shit would be just as hard to get for the most part. But maybe the average stuff would be easier to get. Like your fucking combat potions and stuff would maybe not be so ridiculous. Or like dark runes, or maybe one like dark runes would be easier for regular players to get, I think, if RMT wasn't a thing. Probably most people who use dark runes like bought gold.
I mean, how much were expensive. Before the Black Lotus changes, how much was RMT pushing up the price of flasks? Because they started at like 80 gold, and that was reasonable. You can get 80 gold in an hour. And then they got to like, what was at the end of Classic? Like 1,000? I don't even know. Like before the Black Lotus changes came in 600, I've seen it go to 600.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say, but like I do remember, for example, like a dark rune was as expensive as like 10 stacks of mana pots, and that only, in my opinion, really exists because people who buy gold will be like, I'd pay any cost for an advantage.
Exactly.
People wouldn't, in my opinion, spend 50 times the price of a mana pot on a dark rune unless they bought gold. There were people 100% who used dark runes that didn't buy gold, and that also didn't farm them like 100%, but it's probably rare.
I use the crappy ones that you can get the BOP ones, but like you can use both, so it was a huge disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
And like, can you
Those,
imagine?
I think, be big examples, like you're saying.
Like, just getting your runes for a raid, like you're gonna need at least like 6 runes. That's gonna take you well over an hour in Skolo with a decent group. Like, stuff like that is so unattainable when you gotta do it every week. It's just stupid.
Oh yeah, it's fucking crazy.
We got another bit of news
I was like
here.
unemployed playing all the time when it was like
same.
BWL and MC was out. So like it wasn't too big of a deal in MC and BWL, but also I wasn't I don't think I was flasking until AQ.
Well, you know
But I was
why I'm
using
not
all
an
the other shit.
engineer? Now you know. Right there. No time for calculus
What
1.
were you saying before I interrupted you? Oh, dude,
No.
I
Okay,
hate
we
the
got
math.
we got good news. We've been talking about this on the pod a few weeks back, I think. The PvP problem and why PvP balance is gonna be impossible. It seems like it finally sunk in with the dev team that like the values are like way out of whack. Okay, look at this news right here. Damage reduction test for PvP in Season of Discovery. Global reduction aura. Sounds very familiar, doesn't it? So Agren, I think, is the one that said this. I got a fly haunting me right now. They want my banana bread. Hello, classic PvPers. This coming weekend, we will test adjustments to player versus player in combat in Season of Discovery. We will implement a global damage reduction around PvP and pets too or something. When we started the Season of Discovery, we knew that PvP would be more fast-paced and bursty, with each class being capable of significantly doing more damage, and this quickly proved to be true, no shocker there. We experimented with a damage reduction aura in Battlegrounds in Phase 1, but it didn't work as well as we hoped, mostly because healing was scaling more aggressively than damage. I remember that at Phase 1 it was impossible to kill, like, people were running like 5 healers in a Warzone Gold Primate, it was really stupid. But it didn't work as well as we hoped, mostly because healing was scaling more than damage, causing healing classes to become more oppressive in Battlegrounds than they would be. Now we're in Phase 3, we made many changes and added more runes, and burst damage has significantly outpaced healing output, so we feel it's a good time to try this again. Damage, scaling, and its impact on PvP has always been a concern in World of Warcraft. Ever since original WoW, various systems were introduced to combat this, but ultimately it always comes down to the fact that player damage outscales health at a base level, and an adjustment is needed for combat between players to continue to feel as satisfying as player power increases. We have been hesitant to introduce this as a permanent feature. Oh, so this is a test again, huh? And we preferred to give it a trial run this weekend to give it an idea of how it feels before we could take further steps. This will affect all areas of the game world, not just Battlegrounds. Okay, so yeah, it is live right now actually. I didn't even check it. Like, do I get it on my character right now? Like that debuff thingy? No, there's no such
So
thing.
I didn't realize it was in. I did an STV event for the first time like the day before that shit came in, and then I did it like a day
I'm not
after
gonna
and
know
on a
this.
different class. No, I think they did it everywhere, global, right? They
No,
said they
I
did,
know, but like you could have 10,000 times the HP and you would still get one shot. STV's cancer.
Oh, it's a little different now, dude. Yeah, I'll go there, you'll see.
Oh, I hope
It's
they
way
fixed
less
it.
bursty.
Like, I tried it once and I was like, yeah, I am done. I am never getting my stuff. That was so dumb.
Yeah, like I tried it before on a druid as feral, and then I respect to boomkin, and then went after, and I didn't realize they'd put the change in, and I was like, man, I can't fucking do any damage. But it might be a good change. I'm not sure. I don't think it's terrible though. I don't think it's like the end of the world like people are saying on Reddit.
I don't think it's terrible. like the idea, like we recognized a long time ago that like if you're gonna give people like 20 trillion more damage, you gotta give them some defensives or they are gonna get one clapped. And like, what's the meta right now going? Like, Shaman with Way of Earth, Rogue with that tanking thing, Meta Warlock, because that's the only people that can survive the damage right now. And these flies driving me insane. Got it. So
Got him.
got him. That fly should have needed the damage reduction aura. It doesn't have it. Like, my problem with it is that it is a flat aura, right? And like, I think this is not fair because different classes need different reduction. Okay, is it fair that a Metamorphosis Warlock is gonna take 20% less damage now, while like a Clotty Priest is gonna get one clapped anyway? Like, that's why I wanted resilience in the game. It doesn't have to be resilience. You can call it something different if you are afraid of people. I don't even know. But like, you gotta make gear sets and like balance it around. You cannot give everybody the same reduction and expect it to be balanced.
Yeah, I wonder how people feel about it in a little bit. I did hear a kind of reasonable criticism was that since people die slower now, you get less honor and blood coins per hour, like kind of regardless of who you are, since it just
Makes
drags
sense.
out the PvP encounters. So like that's kind of weird. It's a weird consideration. I would have not thought of that before this change.
I mean, is it gonna
But
be
I don't think it's too
significant?
bad. I don't know. I mean, like, I kind of doubt it, but I do get like where people be coming from. That if you're getting one shot before, you get more kills, and it's not a zero sum game with getting the reward from PvP. So it could make sense to me that more deaths is more rewards, but maybe it's not a huge difference. I don't know.
I mean, like, honestly, I think STV is like terribly designed. I think they cranked that thing out in an afternoon. Didn't even try to like imagine how it would go, let alone test it. But yeah, I mean, like, that is a serious concern. If like it turns out that you kill people 20% slower, and that means you get honor or whatever 20% slower, they might have to retune that. I don't think the idea the start is a bad idea. I don't think it's a bad idea to change. I just think it's implemented poorly. That's kind of like the Blizzard's history 101 right there, I guess.
Yeah, they're really into ham-fisted changes, and it
Overcorrect, yeah.
it's lame.
Everything they do has to be dramatical, you know? It cannot be like, we're gonna put this new PvP set that gives you 10% damage reduction, and if it's too crazy, we can nerf it. No, they're gonna, everybody takes 20% less damage. I don't think that's gonna change the meta at all. I think people are still gonna be running Way of Earth, are still gonna be running Meta Warlocks, and everybody else is gonna get shafted.
Yeah, I heard some people saying that they think melee is a lot better now because you don't have to worry about getting one shot as much. I wonder if that will maintain being a thing.
I mean, if it's not significantly changed, I don't think it will be a thing. Like, yeah, melee has usually in PvP like a higher DPS output. Like you can if you got gear, you can one shot somebody if you're an Earth Warrior. But like, is a 20% damage reduction gonna make the difference between you charging in and killing them or not? Like, I think you get stunned or rooted once and you still die. I don't think 20% is gonna change that. It might make healing a little bit stronger. That's something that he said in there, and I do believe that. Like, healers might become the meta again.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. It felt very hard to kill healers as a boomkin, but I had no gear when I tried it as boomkin, so it's hard to say if that was reflective of really anything.
Well, like, I mean, I think we can agree that the healer runes are all across the board way less powerful than DPS runes. So, like, this makes some sense. But, like, all things equal, this is gonna be a huge buff to healer classes in general. Like, can you imagine killing a druid that's spamming Life Bloom now? It's not gonna happen. I think it's Resto Druid Bonanza right now.
Yeah, I healed one dungeon as Resto, and I could definitely see it being very hard for somebody with like instant cast heals that do like hundreds, like mid hundreds. Like, yeah, it'd be hard to kill somebody.
Life Bloom is even
One-on-one, like
worse.
possible.
Because in PvP, if you purge it, it pops. it doesn't go away. You just get an instant heal, so they are impossible to counter. Like it has zero counterplay, aside from like Mortal Strike, I guess. Like if you pulse it, he gets a full heal. If you don't pulse it, he gets the dot and the full heal. Like there's no beating them. That's why they were so freaking oppressive in TBC arenas too. Like if you look at all the TBC arenas when Life Bloom came out, all the good comps were Druid or something. Druid, something. Like there was not a single good comp that didn't have a Resto Druid. That's a core design issue with
They're very
Life Bloom.
popular into. I don't know if they're really the just the best though. I think a lot of really high rated teams had like a disc priest, but druid's like a very low skill to play a resto druid fairly well.
Yeah, just
You don't
spam
have to
Life
do all the
Bloom.
fancy like. Yeah, like you don't have to be super good at using all the forms. If you're just pretty good at disengaging from people, that's like and keeping your hots up, that'll get you pretty far
Yeah.
in a TBC PvP.
Especially because you're so resilient to interrupts. You got so many instant stuff, And that's the case too in SoD right now. Like in PvP, an instant heal, even if it's not as good as a casted heal, is super strong because like you cannot kick it. So they really cannot be stopped. That's the problem with the rest of Druid, and this is gonna make it even worse. As long as you know how to turn into bird and pro Nature's Grasp and just run, like you're not dying ever again. I can see that.
I wonder how the hunter changes are gonna pan out with them trying to boost the DPS of ranged DPS hunters. I wonder if they're gonna like really nerf melee. How that'll like play out in PvP.
Oh, that's a
Feral
fantastic segue.
PvP and STV. Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, you nailed it because like I just wanted to talk about the balance changes, and they are right here, like the hunter changes. Like, how much have you looked into this? Did you see it yet?
No.
Well, they buffed a bunch of stuff here. They reduced the cooldown of rapid fire with rapid killing. Rapid killing is a talent. I don't even know. I don't even play Rage Hunter right now. Chimera Shot got increased. It gets 15% more scaling. Explosive Shot got base damage scaling 50%. I don't think Explosive Shot has very high base damage now. It used to at the launch. It doesn't anymore. Sniper Training has a new additional effect. While Sniper Training is at 5 stacks, aim shot is instant. That's gonna be nasty in PvP. So they are trying to make it easier to kite at the same time, I guess. Serpent Spread now causes multi-shot to apply serpents. Oh god. Did you hear about this? Serpent Spread, can you do your multi-shot? You can spread Serpent Sting to everybody. That's the healer counter right there.
No one's ever getting CC off ever again, dude, in PvE. That's it, guys. If you have a hunter in your group, nothing will ever be sheeped ever again.
Can you please not do that? And the hunter is like, haha, multi-shot go brrr.
Yeah. Hunter players do have the highest rate of fucking doing absolutely stupid ass shit. This is proved. This is provable in most people's experience.
I think even like normal players, when they play Hunter, they turn their brain off. Like, I am like more than willing to admit that like when Cataclysm comes out, I'm gonna get a mod. I'm not gonna even get a good pet. I'm just gonna get a mod because I like the mod. What they gonna do? It does the same damage. They don't need the buffs from me. Like, people kinda know that they can get away with getting less as a hunter, and people go like, oh, that's just hunter stuff. Oh, they buff Steady Shot, 100% weapon damage instead of 75%. And there are more adjustments coming apparently, but these are pretty significant buffs. I mean, like 80% instead of 2 minutes. I think that might be a nerf actually. But 15% scaling on Chimera Shot, base damage increase on Explosive Shot, that's probably not significant. Instant aim shot, multi-shot spreading Serpent Sting. I think that is a PvP change right there. I think that is a PvP intended buff. Because Serpent Sting is the one that drains the mana, right?
No, it's Viper.
Oh, Serpent Sting was
Serpent
just
Sting's
poison?
the damage one, so it's for the Chimera shot.
Viper Sting. They got two snake related stings, bro. This is kind of confusing here.
Oh, dude, Viper Sting. Oh man, it's fucking with the new slower killing people meta. That shit is gonna be hilarious. Hunters are gonna be fucking cancer in longer fights.
It might be the play. It might be the play that if you cannot kill the healer, you might as well run them out of mana, I guess. Like, what else can you do? You cannot kick them because they are a druid. You cannot kill them because they are a druid. All you can do is burn the mana now, and that's it. Mana boarding priest
Yeah,
meta.
that should be fun.
I don't know. Like, are there any weird changes here? Okay, I think we already went about the druid buffs here, the hurricane buffs, the 10% more damage on the boomkin. I don't think they needed 10% more damage, but I guess they could have used a buff, so that's fine. And the paladin, Seal of Righteousness can cause critical hits now. Sacred Shield's duration extended, that's just convenience, I guess. Crusader Strike refreshes or judgments effects active to. Oh, that's a retail thing, right? I think in TVC Crusader Strike refreshes all the judgments. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it does. Okay, that makes sense. And Seal Twisting is back on the game. Do you think paladins are gonna care?
Hopefully, it makes paladin players more happy. I think like what really matters is do the classes, pick whatever class inspect. Blizzard should pick what class inspects they want to see in raid, and then make changes that get them into raid. But most people I think on Reddit and that are like trying to say Blizzard sucks are. I mean, granted, I think Blizzard's pretty bad at balancing things, but it wouldn't make sense for the hybrid classes to be equally good as the non-hybrids at literally everything.
Absolutely.
Like, Boomkins should not do the same DPS as Warriors unless they have similar utility to the raid. Most likely, otherwise it'll probably push Warriors out of the raid. And the game shouldn't be balanced around the top 1% Warriors of super fast kill times because, well, not everyone's going to have the kill times, and it'll make the average Warrior be unable to play the game.
Well, like, I think it's like one of those things where like utility makes you super desirable to have in the raid, but the classes that got that utility, this is not my case, by the way. I love this. I play Shaman in TVC because I love being that guy that gets away with stuff. But utility classes do not feel like they are doing good unless they are top of the meters too. Like, I'm gonna do my boy Classic Go a little dirty here for a minute. I'm sorry, Go. But like, he was saying to me like one time something in the likes of, I played Classic as a Boomkin and I hated it because it was bad. It was bad. And then I was promising TVC it would be good, and then I didn't feel good. Like, I was super weak. And then same thing in Rato de Lichkin, and I'm like, yeah, you are weak in DPS maybe, but like you go to trade chat in TVC and it's like looking for Boomkin, looking for Boomkin, looking for Boomkin. You got no shortage of people wanting you there. Just because you're not top in the meters, it doesn't mean that you all of a sudden are not like kicking butt. They will never be pleased until they get the damage, though. They won't be pleased. Shadow Priest in TVC, another thing. Like, Shadow Priest complained all of TVC that they weren't super absolutely busted, even though they were doing very decent damage. And like, you needed 2 per raid and you couldn't get enough of them, and like they were like super in demand. Same thing, man.
Yep. Yeah, people want, without realizing, they want to turn the game into re, and they don't get that they will kill the fucking game. Shadow Priests are a great example of it. Most Shadow Priest players, they don't actually want the game to be good. They want to have an insane advantage, and this is anything that attracts PvPers. If you balance the game around what PvPers say, you would fucking ruin the game overnight.
So fast.
Because none of them are thinking about anything except like their own experience. So it's like Shadow Priests are like, well, why shouldn't I do as much DPS as Warrior? It's like, well, because that means it'd be literally impossible for you to lose a fight to anyone 1v1. They'd be like, what would be the problem with that? Shadow Priest's supposed to be good at PvP. And why shouldn't it be as good in PvE and the best in PvP and give more utility than these guys? Why not?
You mean I am unkillable and I heal myself and I got fears? That's not enough. That's not enough, you know? Like, the main strength of the Shadow Priest should be that it doesn't have any weakness at all. That's the way it should work.
Blizzard trying to make meme specs. And by meme specs, it's like, really, my problem with them buffing meme specs is like, they're just trying to make more things balanced simultaneously, and they're trying to spin too many plates at the same time. It's not with you can't keep with the spirit of Classic and make more and more and more specs be desirable in raid. It's going to fuck it up. It's like Mission Impossible. They're asking to fail by going after that as a goal.
Like personally, I just don't see like some fights in vanilla working anymore. Like if unless they change the mechanics for them, and they might. Like, can you imagine doing normal molten core without the mechanics? Like just with the vanilla mechanics, like even if they buff the numbers, that thing is gonna be a joke. Like we got an answer for everything now. That's gonna be an issue.
Yeah, it makes me worry.
And
Definitely makes me worry.
I don't know if they could get away with it at this point because like they treated us with like a new raid with like new bosses every time. If they do normal molten core, it kinda beats the point, you know? I don't think people are gonna be happy about that. They're gonna feel like they got cheaped out.
Yeah, like me personally, I'd be okay with them having 40-man molten core, but maybe only letting you take 20 people and just seeing what it pans out like. Because if it was too fucking easy, I think that that'd be a decent way to start it. Because like most people wouldn't. If it was too easy, I don't think most people would be like, I'm bored after just owning it once. Like I think too easy means people might quit slowly. Too hard might make people just be like, I'm fucking done with this instantly. I think though.
Absolutely. That's how a lot of people felt about Nomer. Yeah, Nomer wasn't even that hard compared to Sunken Temple. Like, oh my god, imagine Eranicos in Nomer. And I don't know if there's a good solution to that. Like, you are gonna have to like
Mhm.
get a balance there, and I don't think it's easy to get a balance there. Like, honestly, I know there could be a balance here. Make a 10-man raid easy and a 20-man raid hard, but they don't want to make 2 raids in a tier because that's too much work. So I don't think we will ever get a balance there. Like, we're gonna get people mad on both sides to the end of time.
Yeah, I think the people who say it's too easy will get over it, but the people who say it's too hard will quit the game. And then the people who say it's too easy will like feel like losers because once all the bad players quit, then they'll no longer be able to pretend they're like morally superior. So
Yep.
I don't think it's a losing way to appeal to the make it harder crew. It's like when somebody says make it harder, they're just trying to actually find the socially acceptable way to say I'm better than other players. Most ways it's not if you say that, it's like considered a faux pas, but if you're like, oh, it should be harder, it's like really what you're just saying is, I'm better than the average bear. And it's just a socially acceptable way to say it.
The average bear.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, the thing is, like, of course you want challenge in a raid. Of course you want to see challenge in a raid. But what is the meter? Like, the way I would see challenge in a raid, in my view, is you can go in and there is a non-zero chance that if you do something stupid, you wipe. And
I think BFD was great, dude.
What?
Yeah, like BFD, I think was.
I can hear you now.
Yeah, I think like BFD was pretty good. The mechanics I don't think were great. Like the Murloc boss was fucking lame.
Absolutely.
Lorcus was fucking lame. Yeah, both those bosses were fucking dog shit. The first boss could have been better, but it was okay. But like the difficulty level, I think was great.
I don't know, like the way I would like I would like to see more challenges in Seasonal Discovery is get rid of all the DPS checks, make healing checks not as hard, get rid of all the number problems, and make it a brain cell check. Let's see, like, you don't stand here, you die. I would like to see a lot more of that and a lot less of you don't kill Eranicos in 20 seconds and you wipe. So good luck if you don't have 20 consumables and you take people that are not very good but are trying. Like, I would rather see like a wording like people that don't have the best gear but are really trying to succeed than people that are spamming consumables and stuff are fine standing on fire. Honestly. Like, I think they went about it the wrong way with Eranicos design in particular in that sense. I don't think it's a glaring issue because that's a tuning problem at the end of the day and that's an easy fix. And that, but I think like I want them to design more raids like that. Like, Crowd Pummeler is my favorite example of a good fight, even though it's super simple. You do something stupid, you get knocked off, you die. You don't wipe the raid when you do something stupid, so people are not gonna be like, I shouldn't take my new friend that is new to the game here to his first raid because he's gonna wipe us. So, like, there is that element of, like, I'm gonna take my friends in, I'm gonna carry them, and I'm gonna pick up the slack because he's not gonna be capable of ruining the raid for me. I think the problem with, like, fights like what's the name here? Electrocutioner. Why I hate the Electrocutioner with such a passion is that I could never take a new friend. Like, I got a couple friends that like I've been playing for years, and like they don't play the game much anymore. And like it is their first time doing Nomer, and I really don't want to take him because I know even if they try and they're being nice, they're gonna get me killed. They're gonna get the raid wiped. If I brought a friend in and he died and did no damage, I would be okay with that. I would carry him. But like when you make fights like that, like they really gotta rethink that whole thing.
Yeah, I don't like mechanics where you fuck it up for other people, especially when there's something like world buffs at stake. I think it's
Yes.
very destructive. Very destructive.
So toxic.
And it's not like I blame people for like getting upset when somebody else makes them lose their buff. So it's like I don't think you should take out world buff or ask people to act differently towards wipes. You should just make the like if you're gonna have world buffs, and I think they should, because it's classic. Don't have mechanics like that where you get somebody else killed.
Yeah, like at the same time, it's like it creates like a long-term effect in the community of people. Like you think it is toxic, like the parse meta, how you need parses to go in and stuff. Like when I need a shaman, and like I need any shaman for a buff. In a normal raid where like you do something dumb and you die instead of killing the whole raid, I can take whatever because I just need a shaman. But when it is that way, it's just like I don't want to take new people. And what are those new people gonna go through? Because like they're gonna get in a raid because nobody wants to take that guy that might wipe him because he never did it before. And what happens 3 months down the line when like that new guy couldn't get much raiding at all, or like when he got in his first raid and people were yelling out of their lungs at him because it was the first time of that guy in a raid and like he got everybody killed. Stuff like that is just, I don't know. I guess there is another side of this where like the guy dies every single fight and nobody bats an eye to it. I think I would prefer that. I would prefer that scenario where like we always got that guy than like just having the you do something wrong and everybody dies thing.
Yeah, I don't mind people screening for parses and stuff, and I don't think that I think people only do that because in the eye of the raid leader, you're trying to balance completing the raid and the amount of difficulty to assemble a raid group, because you can almost always delay starting raid and make the raid more successful. Like I used to have a thing like when I made pugs for the harder content like AQ40, where I would not start the raid if I couldn't get if there wasn't really good players, I would not start an AQ40 raid without 13 healers. Like if it was a pug, I would under no circumstances, because it just increased the chance of success so much. And sometimes that would mean starting a pug literally an hour late. But when you make shit harder, you make people go more towards these statistical advantages and like caring about the class. If the shit was easy, raid leaders would just not like parse check because they don't want to spend the time on it.
That was Molten Core in a nutshell back in Classic, right? I need 10 healers. Where am I gonna get 10 healers? Okay, you're a druid, you know how to place healing touch? Get in, buddy.
Exactly, and druids were really bad compared
Absolute
to
garbage.
Healers. Yeah, like druid players, no, they're good. Hots are dog shit. You knock
you never use
buffs
them
off. You steal you steal heals from other people. Like, so even if a druid like heals a lot, they're not actually very productive. They're like they're practically griefing their raid even if they heal a lot. But you just put up with it as a raid leader because you're like, dude, I don't care. Anybody works. Like, fucking, let's just go. I just want to pull. I just want to get pulling. Sure, healer, it works.
And the reason this
you make the game harder, people aren't like that.
The reason this parse meta checking meta that people complain about it got this way is also because of that. Because when you get to a scenario like what you're describing, where like spending an hour getting people is gonna save you 3 hours in the raid, that's Sunken Temple in a nutshell right there. Like easily getting like 5 better people is gonna save you an hour in the raid, depending on the skill level of the raid. Like, why wouldn't you? It makes a lot more sense to be like that jerk guy doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
Yeah, they're just responding to the incentives from Blizzard. Blizzard fucks this up by listening to the to people who have never been responsible for a raid group, who would quit the game if they had to put a raid group together. Like, anybody who has not put together at least 5 pugs should shut the fuck up about game design, game balance. If you haven't put together at least 5 pugs, you have no fucking clue what people who put groups together think and what actually gets groups to like function. Because like the guys who put groups together, and like this isn't actually a thing. If you put a pug together every lockout and always fail to clear, and always seem like a clueless idiot in Discord, and your voice shakes and no one gets any loot, and you do that every time, you can do it forever and people keep joining your pug. But it feels, when you're the raid leader, it feels like it's a stain on your reputation forever. And you want to get the loot. And you don't want to waste time putting together shitty runs. So it's like, that's why people get so psycho. Like, you make the shit easier. Raid leaders want to be lazy. People want to be like the MC pugs at level 60, where they're like looking for people with a pulse. They'd invite people that they know are fucking botters, dude, that are mages that do 150 DPS, and they'd whisper them and be like, get 3 D curses off in the raid and I'll let you roll on. Like, because it's so easy. You just invite anyone.
We used to bring a guy that was multi-boxing 5 mages to a raid before they did that banning. He just did Frostbolt on Kula, like every global. It kind of worked out.
That's so fucking funny, dude.
He wasn't even at the bottom, you know?
Yeah, like, it's not as if, so a lot of people think that people checking for parses care because they want to parse in their pugs. They don't. Because in a pug, you're not going to fucking get great parses unless you happen to play a class where your parse is very independent of kill time. That's the only way. If
not
your parse
warriors.
is super independent of kill time. Right, yeah. So anything with like lots of CDs, like you're just not going to parse in a pug. So it's like it's all about how likely the raid leader thinks the group will actually complete the raid. That's what it's all about.
Like, especially like now, because you know there's like this other backend thing where like you wipe 2 times on a boss and 10 people are gonna leave because it's not 2004 anymore. So like you got that on the back on your head when you're starting a raid the whole time too. And another thing is that sometimes even if you're not a great player yourself, if you surround yourself with good players, you're gonna be really successful. So that's the kind of, okay, that's the part that I think is like being the douchebag. Okay, I am guilty of this a lot. Like, I am not the greatest tank, but if I get 3 really amazing healers and I get like top of the line DPSs in my raid, like, I can just clear. And like, people know I'm not a great tank, and I might have a hard time getting in a raid, but like, if I make my own pack and I stack it with good players, nobody's gonna know this.
Oh, I don't think there's anything wrong with anybody who's doing the organizational stuff. Like, is the people who organize
That's
groups
a
are
reward.
far more important to the community than people who go to groups.
I tend to agree with that.
More. It's like incomparable. Yeah.
There is thing
like fucking. Go on.
No, I'm saying like there's this thing going where people hate that people require parses. They hate that you require X, Y, and Z to go to your pug. But they never get the idea of like, maybe I should do my own pug and not listen to this guy. Like, for some reason, like there's like people that like doing pugs, and they're like, most people never want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. I don't know why that happens, but that's the way it goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always find it funny when people who never put groups together talk about community, or like this is one I would see all the time in guilds I've ran. People would complain about how mega servers make it so there's not a community, and I'd be like, you literally only talk to people in this guild that I constructed, where every friend you've ran into in this guild basically is because I found them and added them. Like, your experience in the game is entirely artificial, like driven by other people finding other people and displaying them to you. Like, what the fuck are you talking about community? Like, you can go message random people on a mega server and get to know them.
At the end of the day, I
these
think
people complaining about, oh, it's too hard to get in a group. Like, make your own fucking group. It's so easy. It's easy to get people in a group. It's not easy to make a group and have it be successful, but it's very easy to get people to join a group.
Like, I think at the end of the day, the real gameplay of WoW has always been, it's not now, has always been getting people to do what you need them to do. Okay, that's the hard part. Okay? Like, the difference between Method or whatever, I don't know who's the top guild anymore, probably not that one. But like, the difference between like a top of the line guild and like a normal guild is not necessarily that the players there are like that much more amazing. It's that those people can get 40 people that want to spend consumables, that want to play 10 hours, that never want to mess up. Like, that kind of stuff. Like, even if you're not a great player, if you can get like 10, 20 people to like really try and like be really good players around you, you're gonna succeed in WoW. That's a real gameplay of WoW right there. That's a money glitch. And like, there are some changes in retail that I just look at them and I think like, why would you do this? And like, I've always thought personal loot is one of the worst things they could have done to the game because like they shafted the raid leaders specifically.
Mm-hmm.
What incentive do you have as a POG now, as a POG raid leader, to host your own POG and waste like 2 hours looking for people when you cannot even reserve your weapon or whatever you want to get? Like, just to have the same chance of loot as everybody else. Like, why would you spend that extra 2 hours that nobody else wants to spend? I mean, that's the other part people don't get. The reserves is like, well, he spent 2 hours making the freaking group. If it is Molten Core and he reserves, I get a problem with that, I guess. If it's Uber and he reserves, I get a problem with that. But like, this thing, like, if I wanted to put a good sunken temple together that has a decent chance of clearing the place, it would take me probably an hour or 2 hours on trade chat. That's the time you're not spending.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that shit's fucking crazy. I wonder how that changed the pug stuff. It's interesting. When I first started making pugs, I didn't do any hard reserves, and like something I kind of thought was well, if I don't do hard reserves, people know I'm like running the pug for the right reason, and when the pug goes good, they'll want to play with me more in the future. And a thing I quickly realized was when you do favors for people that are very tiny like that, where you do a small favor for everyone, no one thinks you did anything. So like eventually I started running GDKPs on Era like 5 years after having this realization that doing small favors for everybody gets zero reward. And I did something different. Most people on Era, they do like a 5 to 10% host cut. I did legit like a 25% host cut, and I allocated like half of that back to the raid. And it would just be up to me basically like how the money got given. And so one of those features was like the top like 4 or 5 DPS in my raid would get 2 cuts worth of gold. And the bottom like 4 or 5 DPS in the raid would get 0 cut basically. And what I found was I actually had way more repeat flyers. I had way less repeat shitters and I had way more repeat good players. And if you ask most people, will that work? They'd be like, you can't do that. It's super selfish. And I'd be like, I can literally take a fourth of the pot and fill the raid faster than somebody who takes 5% of the pot. Interesting. Like fucking, it's people act on incentives.
When you reward bad behavior, you get bad behavior.
Yep.
Simple as.
It's so fucking strange. That's a big issue of main spec, off spec, or SR is the incentive for a person who has nothing else to gain. Like if you play WoW and you have a finite amount of free time and you're in an MS-OS run and all the items that you want have already gone out, or you believe the raid is not going to kill the bosses for them, you are incentivized to quit and then ensure that everybody else in the raid is just absolutely fucked. Same thing with SR. Like your SRs don't drop, like you're incentivized to leave if you're a psychopath. And the sad reality is like there is enough people who play WoW that act like psychos. And if you have 1 in 10 people in your 40-man raid act like a psycho about their SRs, you'll probably lose 1/10 of your raiders before you complete the raid, and then you might not complete the raid at all.
It's not even that, because like when you see one guy that lives for that, the god instinct of everybody else is to leave. So like one person leaving can kill a raid so easily sometimes. Like that's also why you gotta be like so pesky, so annoying about who you get in the raid. Because like in a normal, back in the day, back in private servers, even not that long ago, you wiped in a boss in Molten Core and people would be like, okay, it's God, it's easy, it's hard, don't worry guys, we're gonna figure it out now, and they will give it a shot. Now, you go to Classic Era and you wipe on God, you lose half the raid. So you have to be a bit of a douchebag. I mean, maybe that's a bad example because in Classic Era it's super easy, like private servers killing stuff was a lot harder. But yeah, like, you gotta be that guy. That's what they incentivize. And like, that's what people don't get. Like, people just assume when somebody does something that they are evil, they are too selfish, they are too, okay, maybe too selfish is the right word. But like, that people are like operating out of like some one-dimensional evil in them. No, it's just the incentives of the system that we are in create this. If you make a raid where like being the one idiot kills the whole raid, we're not gonna take the one idiot that we might otherwise take.
Mm-hmm.
unless you think that
It's
everybody else
very
is
simple.
evil.
I think them taking out GDKP was, I'm not going to say that it's the reason for there being less people raiding, but I think taking out GDKP was a bad idea. There is far less scamming that goes on with raid leaders and GDKPs than an MSOS. Like, this is a very common thing. You run a guild, you have to pug, you do MSOS, you tell people who really ought not roll on an item to roll on it, so that way they can trade it to their guildies. I don't think there's necessarily something wrong with doing that, but it's a whole lot more shady than simply taking a cut and having everybody realize that the guild is getting more out of the run than the other people.
And they know before they join.
It makes people show their hand more, and sometimes people will run off with a pod and a GDKP, but it's a lot more likely that somebody will reserve an item of supreme value in an MSOS run or an SR run, or that they will ninja loot an item than it is that a GDKP pot will get stolen. GDKP pots getting stolen is also quite often actionable under the TOS. It's a lot harder to steal a GDKP pot in a way that doesn't break the TOS because you say in the game that it's a GDKP. Whereas like with MSOS, you can just say that like it's not SR. That's a common thing. Be like looking for more, not SR. And then if you ninja loot an item, Blizzard's going to be like loot rules not defined, not actionable.
Like
So
even
it's
if
like, I
even
mean, go
if
watch
you
Asmongold. He has tons of videos talking
yeah,
about it. It's
even
very
if you
easy.
transparently lie about it and you are technically breaking TOS, like do you think they are gonna get a GM to go there and check, okay, 3 hours of conversation logs to see if this guy is saying the truth or this other guy is saying the truth? Like honestly, like I think Blizzard did the right thing by saying we are not gonna arbitrate that kind of stuff anymore. I don't think they should, honestly. It's just dumb. Especially in Classic, where there is a social fabric somewhat. You know, like in retail, maybe that would make a little more sense, even though you cannot lynch a loot anymore because personal loot, dude.
I think it'd even be fine if they just charge you for GM's time. Like if they're like $20, you get 15 minutes of GM time. Like make a case.
15
like
minutes?
you're only. So yeah, because I mean, like it's got to be expensive, otherwise it won't make business sense for them. But like it, like back in the day, you didn't have to worry about getting scammed. I remember playing as a kid, that was not a worry, and that really helps the atmosphere of the game. So I think not arbitrating things isn't the answer. I would rather them charge you to get the arbitration service.
Honestly, like I proposed this
People
a
would
while
be
ago.
scared that
Sorry.
somebody will spend money.
Well, like I proposed this system a while ago, saying let's make a server. We're gonna call it the exclusive economic zone, and like this server is $20 more a month, and it has normal GMs on it. Like Blizzard would make
I'd
a
be
lot of
down.
money, and I can tell you a bunch of people would wanna be in that server. And it's just like one server, two servers. Okay, one PvE server, one PvP server. And that's it. They will make a ton of money. And like that
Oh,
would
yeah.
work. I would probably pay it.
Yeah, I'd be fucking down. WoW is such a time commitment. Like for it to be very minorly better, I would spend a lot of money. It
Yeah.
just makes sense because it's like if you're gonna spend, I don't know, let's say you're a pretty average WoW player, you spend 8 hours a week. It's like 5% of your life while you're playing. Maybe it's like 8% of your waking hours. Okay, if it's like 8% of your waking hours and you wouldn't spend an extra $30 a month to make it like, I don't know, 10% better, you're a fucking idiot. It's not even like an opinion thing. It's like you're a
It's
fucking
mathematically
clown.
a fact. You know,
Yeah.
like even in an emotional level, you know, like how many people quit Tarkov over seeing that video of everybody's cheating in Tarkov? Like how many people do not want to farm gold for an item legitimately or do not want to get PvP rank legitimately because they feel that so many people are swiping for it? Like if you could get rid of that kind of that kind of problem, I think a lot more people would be willing to spend that insane amount of time in the game again.
Yeah, I wish this is one thing where I think Blizzard could have a dialogue with the players. 'Cause I think normally when talking about game balance, Blizzard can't have a dialogue because such a tiny percentage of players actually care about the health of the game and have the experiences to like understand how it works. But money is something where Blizzard has a lot of reason to be like, I think a lot of reason to talk about it, and money's something where like everybody has personal experience with money. Finding a way for Blizzard to have it make economical sense for them to make the game better, even if it's only incrementally. Like they could, it would, if they made the game fucking twice as good and they charged us an extra $30 a month, an extra $40 a month, an extra $50 a month, it would be well worth it. A lot of people would revolt and be like, I wouldn't pay that. And it's like, yeah, they'd be fucking stupid to act that way though, if they're spending a lot of time. If you're not spending a lot of time on the game, it's different. But people put a lot of time into it. It'd be so foolish to not want the experience to be better. It's such a big part of your life. It's just a matter of pride to say, no, I'm already paying $15. Like that's a thing people say. I'm already paying $15. It should be better. Why? People will go pay $15 a month to some fucking YouTuber's Patreon for what? To see a video a day earlier once a month.
We can do that?
That's nothing compared to the value of WoW. Yeah, I mean, not us, but other YouTubers. You know, it's like, it's nuts.
If I want to get $10, like, I gotta eat a can of beans on stream. I like beans.
Yeah. So. There you go.
Yeah, like, the problem is that, like, when people get really upset at, like, a money thing, it's not necessarily that they get upset that they're charging money for it. They feel that they are not getting value or they are getting screwed in some way. Like, we put the TVC store mount in the game. Did the game get any better for it? No. Like, that's the kind of changes that get people upset. You know, the meme, the Horse Armor DLC, where people got so mad at Horse Armor DLC in Oblivion. Because it was stupid Horse Armor and they were trying to get $10 out of it. You know, if they told me, you pay $20 more a month, but you get normal GMs in your server, I'll pay that. I'll pay that. Because that's actual value. I don't think Blizzard sees it this way, though, and I think like the community probably doesn't see it this way. So I don't think we're ever gonna get there, sadly.
I'm fine with them adding literally any method of monetization that doesn't like fuck up the like game balance pretty much. If they want to put in Tabards of the Flame and Frost and charge people $100 for them,
I would be okay with that, honestly. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, like anything to make Blizzard feel like they have more at stake. Like if Blizzard made so much money off SoD subscriptions because they did like meaningless microtransactions that didn't fuck up the gameplay, if they made enough from it, they'd feel like they have something of supreme value to hold on to and protect. And I think that would make them make better decisions. I don't think they feel like SoD and Classic Plus are of supreme value.
For them, it's probably like you said this, like you changed my mind completely on this topic. When you said this to me, that like from Blizzard's perspective, they probably make like way more money on retail even though they got less players just because people buy the stupid mounts or whatever the hell they do. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, if that's what it takes to get people to stop giving all the money to Eon and give it to the classic people so they can make good stuff, I would be all over that. I don't think they will. I don't think they are going to handle it the right way either. But they could. There's a universe where they could.
I think there's a lot of streamers in Classic that say that any RM, or not RMT, microtransaction, what's that called?
MTX.
Call that RMX or something?
MTX,
okay. Yeah, that would kill the spirit of Classic, and I just really don't think so. I would love it if Blizzard found a way to make more money so they felt like they had some skin in the game. I couldn't imagine, like, how would the SoD team justify to some executive that what they do here matters when they probably make so little money off of it?
I wouldn't say they make little money off it, but
like, let's assume that they pay 30% as much as a Google engineer pays for you to be an engineer at a Blizzard. Okay, so they got like 30 engineers. So let's say it's the same as, and that they have way more than 30 people working on SoD. They have 30 people, so like they got like 10 mid-level Google engineers. Okay, salary, benefits, operational costs, like $4 or $5 million a year. Just employees. Just employees, HR bullshit, paying their benefits, having like Blizzard corporate structure like interact with these people, you know, like that kind of crap. Compliance and paying salaries, like $4 or $5 million a year just on that team. How many fucking damn subs do you need for that to pay it off, you know?
I'm gonna add that right now. That's
SoD
a great
doesn't
question.
make a lot of money. Yeah, SoD is not making a lot of money. People are like, oh, it's making a ton. It doesn't make fucking any money. SoD makes zero fucking money.
Well, according to this, like to pay $5 million a year, you said a year, right?
Yeah.
They would need 300,000 subs, but you gotta divide that by 12 because there's 12 months in a year, right? They need 27,000, 28,000 subs. I mean, like, there's probably 1 million subs in Classic right now. The problem is like the way they see it, because the gaming industry is a little weird. It's like you look at you're a hardware store and you look at what is it? 70%? No, sorry, triple. Like if you're a hardware store and you can triple your money doing something, you think that's the best business deal ever. Like I think Blizzard sees something like that and they're like, meh, we can do that with a Diablo phone game twice and not spending any money on it. You know, like gaming industry has really weird incentives right there.
Yeah, I mean, there's non-salary cost with all this shit.
Especially in California.
I imagine probably them just creating the presentation to talk about SoD cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Just coming up with what to say.
I mean, honestly,
at BlizzCon years ago.
I mean, that I would say that probably true, but that's just Blizzard being like ungodly inefficient in everything they do. Like, one thing is that marketing the game costs money. Okay, that's not free. BlizzCon, like you saw, they canceled it this year. They canceled it because it is not free to make that. Advertisements, and like you could be like, oh, I don't need advertisements. It doesn't affect me. Yeah, you think it doesn't, but if they don't put that like ads on the games that they relaunch or somewhere, like UAs wouldn't buy it. It's just the way the world works. So like all those things combined, it's like there's a lot of spending that goes there too. Like it's not like they charge $15, but they take like, I don't know, $3 per player to maintain this thing.
Yeah, people wonder why there's no thumbnails to click for SoD in the Battle.net launcher, and it's because that real estate is worth a certain amount of money per second it's on your screen. And it's worth so little money that to somebody who plays Classic or plays SoD, it's better for them to get shown a picture of a fucking, like, I don't know, like a koala person from retail. That makes them more money. That's like how little money SoD make. Like, think about how rare it must be that a purely SoD or Classic, whatever player sees a picture of like some fucking furry person and is then thinking, damn, you know what, I'm going to go play a retail. And yet that makes them more money than them doing anything to get you to think about the game you're actually playing in the Battle.net launcher. Like, you're playing StarCraft, they'd rather than show you a picture of SoD, they'd rather show you a fucking character that you're not even familiar what the fuck it is. They think that will make them more money. It's like the level of not making fucking money they are on this compared to retail.
And I don't think this is a sustainability problem. I think they could run this thing even if they had like no subs. But if you want to get like an ambitious Classic, you want to get like actual real stuff, actual new raids, actual new bosses, actual new classes, where the hell you think Classic Plus should be, that's what it's going to take. And if you're not okay with that, like, if you're not okay with like they making more money to do that, that's fine. I'm not going to hate on you for that, but like you got to be honest with yourself. Like, it's either one or the other. We can blame them for a bunch of evil stuff they did. This is just like simple mathematics right here.
Yeah, I hope Evil Blizzard just finds a way to make us happy while staying evil, because that's just, they're going to stay that way. Like, it's illegal for them to not optimize returns for shareholders. Shareholders own the company. They're entitled to it to benefit their best interests, not ours as the consumers. Honestly, I mean, that makes sense. It's like, how would you feel if your pension just decided that instead of giving you money, they're going to donate your like pension to some other cause? So like, it makes sense too.
It's just common sense right there. It's just the law. Like, what is it? Like, I don't expect them to give out money to give out the game out of the kindness of their own heart. Like, most of my criticisms to Blizzard nowadays are not even that they are too greedy. I think they are just too bad. I think that they just don't see the bigger picture in a lot of things. And that's a whole different rabbit hole of incentives, why they look at things so short term too. But like, when I get mad at like them not putting more money on Classic in a lot of ways, it's not even because like they are being like too greedy. I don't care about that. I just feel they are not seeing the bigger picture here. Because there is a world where that could work. And I don't think they got the talent or the people to see that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I don't think any of the people working on things like SoD are imagining that they're going to still be working on it in 5 years. How could
They
you
won't.
how could you make the right decisions? I bet that the people working on Classic, they they hoped that they could live that experience forever. I bet when they're making it, like when they're making shit like MC and BWL, I bet they were thinking like it was probably really rough and bad at times, and like they didn't like the things the players said to them, I'm sure. But they're probably like, I could do this forever. I hope I will do this forever. There's no way developers at Blizzard are thinking that now.
That's the problem with
So how could
Blizzard.
they ever make long-term decisions?
Absolutely. That's like one of the main problems with Blizzard and why everything is so short term. Because every 5 years, it goes on the news, you know? Every 5 years, they can't have their employees. How are you going to make a 10-year plan when that's the environment you're working? It's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
They canned an entire continent worth of employees. They shut down their whole EU operation. The China operation also went down. Maybe we can blame the Chinese government for this one. Okay, we don't know what happened there. Okay, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. That's probably what happened. But you look at all those stuff and like you put yourself in the shoes of that guy, like, doesn't matter how good I am, I'm going to get fired in 2 years regardless because they got to meet some freaking spreadsheet goal. Yeah, probably not going to care too much about what I do in 5 years. Like, what's this going to cost in 5 years from now? And that's why how, like, over the long term, you end up eroding the game like retail is right now. Because they are always thinking about today, not tomorrow.
Yeah, one of the reasons these tech companies are always firing people is like when you're valuing a company, one of the ways that you'd look at it is how likely is it that it will be able to generate the cash flow it's generating now into the future? And when you have, and then there's a multiple. So you can think like, what's the how much money does this company make? Or like, how much equity is it like generating? And then a multiplier on that. So for example, if you made a construction company, like if me and you made Medina's construction company, and we like built houses, and me and you were like general contractors, and we hired fucking people to like do everything, like do the foundation, frame it, put up drywall. That company would have very little multiplier. It would entirely depend on us. The company would basically exist in our minds unless we hired general contractors. If me and you wore suits and we made the same company, but we knew how to hire people to do everything, then the company's far more valuable. Somebody could expect that they could purchase it from us, and it would not be like
you
them
can scale
purchasing
it.
a job. They'd be purchasing an asset. And these tech companies are considered to have a vast moat, and their profits are considered to have enormous multipliers. So when you can an employee, you can increase the valuation of your company dramatically.
Sometimes it's like when they got a quarter that is very important for whatever reason, because not all quarters. I don't live in the Wall Street world, thank God. But I don't know. For example, just making it up here, maybe the first quarter of the year matters more for the investors. They care more about that quarter than the last quarter of the year. So it makes a lot of sense from that perspective, the short-term perspective. Once again, to like fire all your employees right before that quarter comes in, so you got like a huge surplus of profit that you shouldn't have because you spent, like, you basically borrowed your money from like having employees before to build up the thing and then just shut it down for 3 months, and then you do it again, you hire them again like 3 months later, and that's the kind of like game they are playing at that level. And like that's sometimes we look at stuff they do and we think this is stupid, and we're like, it's not stupid, they're just holding their job. Like, I can see both perspectives here.
Everybody wants to tie incentives to the near term. It's hard to trust people over the long term unless it's yourself. And all these companies, they're owned by the people who don't operate the company. It's such a fucking issue.
Yep. I just hope there is a new generation coming in here that like realize the problem of publicly traded corporations are like, do not IPO their stuff. I think they will. That's my hope.
It's the same reason why I think having a lot of fucking officers is bad for a guild. You diffuse the ownership of the guild. You want like a couple people, generally. You want like 1, maybe 2 people that are ridiculously ride or die for the organization. Because it's hard to get a lot that are ride or die for an organization.
I think the ideal number is 3.
Together.
Even in a 40-man raid, I think the ideal number is 3. You need a recruiter, you need a GM, and a raid leader. And sometimes you can just fuse those 2 into 1. I think that's it.
Yeah, I think one's the best usually. But most people don't do that.
I mean, like, sometimes the GM can take care of the bank and that sort of stuff, and the raid leader is a raid leader, usually the main tank. I'm not completely opposed to that, but like, yeah, I don't think you need any more than that. Like, back in 2004, 8 class officers. Why? For what?
Yeah,
To,
class officers is like so stupid. It's a great way to destroy your guild. You create animosity between classes in your organization. You make it so people feel like their responsibility is not towards the guild. It's like towards impressing random members that are assigned that they receive basically randomly from a recruiter. You want to destroy your guild? Put in a bunch of officers that all control really, really tiny things. That's a great way to fuck your guild up.
like, what's even the point? Like, I'm gonna overview people casting healing touch now. I am the healing officer. Just
Yeah, it's so funny.
like, I feel that it is a good idea to have somebody do the callouts on the healing. Have like a, I don't know how to call it, heal leader, something like that. But that guy shouldn't be an officer. That guy shouldn't have anything to do with how the guild operates outside of the raid. Period. That's just dumb. Yeah, class officers
I
existed
don't
to
like
ninja
fucking
loot.
roles like that in general. In general, like another thing that happens is when you try to like promote, you make a bunch of roles and you try to say that the people doing those roles, it's because of like meritocracy or their ability in that. Like the reality is like your raid leader should have more knowledge about nearly everything meta wise that's not literally pressing the buttons for your class than you. They really probably should. So like if you have a warrior class lead and a priest class lead and a mage class lead and a warlock class lead, it's like most likely one of the casters knows more about caster meta and like scaling and how the game works than all the other casters in the guild. And that one person isn't going to be all those leads. So it's like you're guaranteed to set up retarded situations when you fucking do that stuff. Like, ugh.
Yeah, I don't even know how that came out. I guess like back before Discord and all that stuff, when it was so easy to organize, you needed to delegate a lot more stuff. But like, I just cannot see it working even back then. That thing was just ridiculous. 15 officers per
I think people
guild.
promote their friends. Yeah, I think people just in the short term, it feels really good to promote somebody because like when you promote somebody, when you're the GM and you promote someone in that microsecond, it feels like you're creating value, and the person will be like, "Oh, thank you. I'm going to really lick your butt. You're gonna really like this." So like in that second, you get like this big hit. It's like chasing the dragon when you promote people. Like, oh, this is gonna make the guild better. This guy loves me so much because I promoted him. It feels so good to promote people, and then it fades.
Yeah, people sometimes they want to roleplay that they are Henry Ford or something.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big thing too. People want to have like this big board. They want to like create this, or like the in crowd. You're the GM, you go promote a bunch of officers. It's like you're buying close friends. And you make somebody an officer.
And
You do it a
you
bunch.
generate
It's like,
so
ooh.
many clicks and breakdowns within your guild when you do that stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've seen cases of like guilds where like 10 of the, in a 25-man, 10 people in that raid are officers. And like, how do those other 15 people feel at that point? Because when it's like 2 or 3 people, like nobody feels like some sort of resentment against those other 3. But when you got 10, oh God, save your life.
Yeah, I like a flat structure. AGM, maybe a GM and a raid leader. Maybe a GM that's a raid leader and like somebody that's like their right hand to like make sure that they're not like power tripping sometime. That's like what I did in my guild. It was like me and one other guy, and he'd basically just if I was doing anything he thought it was weird, he'd just like instantly be like, "I think you're being a weirdo."
That's always
just let me know
cool.
what he feels, and sometimes I'd agree with him, sometimes I would. More
Yeah,
than that, though, I think it's a problem.
we had a problem with our raid leaders. Like on the start of Sunken Temple, we had like this guy. Like we made him raid leader because like he was a good player, and we thought, okay, this guy's gonna know how to lead the raid. And like it became evident at the start of Sunken Temple when things got hard that he was more interested in like clearing comms. Okay, you ever heard that tips out meme of like clear comms when he's doing something dumb and kills himself? Like it was like that again. It was like he was more concerned about keeping Discord clear so he could talk only him instead of like actually getting us together to kill bosses. Like people would try to suggest people would try to say something like, maybe you should stand here for an Anicus, and they would be like, clear comms, clear comms, clear comms, and like stuff like that. And like that's a lot is really hard to like tell when you're like the guy behind, when you're that guy in that situation. You always, I mean, it wound up so bad we had to can him basically. So I mean, they had to can it. I had no participation in that decision. I would have canned him the first raid, but that's not my business.
Yeah, and these things only happen, I think, when you have diffusion of responsibility. Because if
Yeah.
that guy had to go through the work of assembling the raid group, the likelihood that he would be
He
a
wasn't the
total
recruiter.
idiot, it'd be way lower. Yep.
The guy that organizes the raid is like the guy that set everything up was the guy that is responsible for recruiting. And like, I think that like that gives you, like I always thought, like I think guilds do it all wrong. Like it's very rare for guilds to have an officer that is only recruiter. And like I think that's like so much more important than anything else you can put an officer to. Like,
yeah, one of my guilds, we had a recruitment officer who actually got a lot of shit done, but people would think like it was weird. People in the guild would think that he wasn't very important, but like he is literally 50% of the guild because he does 50% of the recruitment all on his own. So he is 50% of the guild. People be like, haha, that's funny. I'd be like, I don't care if he's a worse raider than you. I would literally fucking G kick you and all your friends to keep this guy. Like all of them. They would be gone in a heartbeat. You fucking kidding me? Like the recruiter is so much more supremely important than like making the right decisions is nothing compared to getting people in raid.
Getting like 399 parses, you can afford to suck really bad where it still mathematically makes sense to keep that guy just because he gets 399 parses in the raid. Like you get 3 like Alando wannabes, 3 like super pumper warriors, and meanwhile the guy that recruited them is like a 60 parser or a 40 parser or a green parser. I don't give a shit. He could do no damage for all I care. It would still make more sense to keep that guy in just so he can keep pulling that. And like the part about the guilds is like such an uphill battle. I've never been a GM myself. I've only been a recruiter. Is that especially now? Like it's such a revolting door. No matter what you do, even when the raids are going fine, you still gotta do like 2 or 3 people new every week to just keep up the momentum going. And when you don't get nobody that's actually like whose job is to get those people going, fueling up the coal in the machine, the whole thing breaks down.
Yeah, it is definitely hard. I think a lot of it is people aren't very good at creating experiences for other players where they feel like they can't get it anywhere else. A lot of people like a lot of GMs don't get why people go see their stuff. Like why I said that weird. Why people would follow them. Like people do whatever they think makes the most sense. And sometimes people are like, oh, I don't think what I'm doing makes sense, but I just feel like it's like, no, whatever you're doing, you think is the most sense. Like maybe it's like your guild, you think it sucks, but you just are so uncomfortable meeting new people that you're just like, I'll just stay in this shitty guild. It sucks. I don't want to quit WoW and I need to be in a guild, People don't like think stuff like that. It's like self-disparaging, but it's like you can create a guild in a way where you have very, 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 very low turnover.
I mean, yeah.
But it's hard.
I think like there's like a whole thing with like sometimes having a shittier, I don't know if that's the word, like, yeah, having a crappier raid and like dealing with it like in a way that is like less toxic, so to speak. I don't know if that's a word. Is in the long run gonna make your guild more successful than being a complete like sperg about it. Of course, this is on like the average guild. If you wanna be like a speedrun guild, you're gonna have to be that way. But the environment is such an important part of the raid. Like it's so easy to kill the boss in a raid. You can even feel it. You can even feel it in the air. Like when people are like joking around and all of a sudden this guy says something and like everybody else goes quiet. That's costing you a lot of players. gotta call the head on those people really quick. I am a huge believer in canning shitty people, like not shitty players, shitty people in the guild, because they have like this effect on the thing on the long term.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Making sure that people think there's like that nearly everybody in the guild has mutual respect. You can't always get it with everybody because you probably aren't able to be aware of it at all times as the GM or raid leader or whatever. But I think like if you're doing a good job, if you want to create a guild with really low turnover, you should make sure that at least when you're around, it's like you never perceive people being disrespectful to each other. People should be like in the guilds I've ran, people would be super uncomfortable to say something disparaging about another guild member in front of me. They would expect that I would explode on them instantaneously if it happened. If they like, it'd be different. Somebody be like, that guy really fucked up his blah blah blah. But if like somebody is like, hey, this guy never gets anything right, why is he in the raid? I'd be like, oh, I didn't know that you run the fucking raid group, huh? Do you think I should make you run the raid group? You think you can make this guild so good and then you just kick this guy? Huh? Is that what you think? And like really, really admonish the fuck out of him.
You
like,
have to. You have to go.
God,
like, you need a zero tolerance policy on like this healer sucks, this guy sucks. Those comments never help. I don't think I will get upset at people saying like you messed up this thing, you're doing this thing wrong. But like as soon as I hear this guy sucks, you can feel it in the air. Like it dies. The whole boss of the raid dies. Even if you're doing everything fine, even you're killing stuff. Like when that guy says it, you know like there's like something going on there. Also, I think that just makes you like a really dumb person. Honestly, like why do you gotta go right there to that? Like we're like 10 presumably friendly people, 10 presumably friends, let's call it. I don't know if that's the right word, but like we're trying to hang out here, and like you bring that one in, and it's like honest. I'm even fine saying like in private, going to the raid officer and you really gotta kick this guy out, but don't say it in the raid. Don't say it in the raid. That's just
it's almost like if you're running a guild, you should be every single person in your guild should if they had to list their 5 favorite people, you should be on their list. Every single person in the guild. If not, like you're probably doing a bad job running your guild.
Yep. And like it's one of those things where like if you feel confident enough to say that without fear of repercussion, to say this healer sucks in the middle of the raid, you absolutely should have the confidence to go after the raid to the raid leader and say this guy sucks, you gotta kick him. Do that. Don't mess with the raid in the raid. That gets me really mad when people do that.
Yeah, like I think if you do things which make it so people know that the people they're playing with, at the very least, would never feel comfortable saying shitty things. That can make an irreplaceable environment.
Yeah, it also creates like this resentment on it, like the raid leader didn't stand up for me, kind of deal, and that fucks the guild really fast too. Like, if anything, like the raid leader should be the guy that gets mad at people that mess up for that reason too, like to vindicate the people that are upset at that guy. You know, like standing up for the other 9 people, that kind of deal. But it's you gotta really not tolerate those people. I am a big believer in calling the herd.
Yeah, I think this is a big part of why running a good guild is easier than running a bad guild, because like there are legitimate reasons people should be kicked over performance, and it's really hard to manage that when you have players of a vast variety of skill levels. But also, if you resolve that by getting all good players, that's a good resolution. If you do it by getting all bad players, the reality is people who are bad players are like not serious about the game, and so they won't be serious about your guild. Like it's just it's very, very rare that you can have a guild full of casuals that fucking suck, or that casuals that are carried by a few awesome players and keep everybody happy long term. It's just really, really, really rare. They exist, but it's probably not your guild. You know, it's like if you're in a guild and you feel like you're a bunch of casuals, probably your guild won't exist anymore. Probably. Even if you love each other right now, most likely you'll get later in a phase, later in some expansion, the content will get harder. Your raid leader will suggest, let's take a little break from raiding, guys. And then poof, it's all gone.
Gone.
That's how it goes.
Like, I've seen a lot of cases where it works. Like, all the guilds have that little Billy guy that is funny, and you take it to battlegrounds and he's amazing and he sucks at the game. And, like, they will tolerate that. But when you got, like, 10 people that suck and they are not little Billy, the guy that is awesome, fun to be around, that's when it gets bad. Like, I am happy taking like people that suck that are really friendly in a guild. I don't think that's like absolute terrible, but they better be really, really nice to be around.
Usually, if somebody sucks, I think that you can find a way to make them still productive. It depends. Like if somebody like really sucks, and for example, they're a warrior DPS in classic at 60, I'd probably be like, you must keep up Thunderclap and Demo Shout, and you're not allowed to suck at that. If you suck at that, you won't be in the raid. Or it'll be like, you're allowed to suck at everything except that you need to be the fourth tank on these mobs, and that means that these mobs must never kill anybody in raid. Do be shit the rest of the raid. These 4 trash packs where we need 4 tanks, you are not allowed to make a mistake there. Suck everywhere else. Because those are things that other people will dislike doing. They're like the chores in the raid, like being the 4th tank on certain packs, keeping up the debuff. So like my shitty players, I would usually see if they would do that. But like a lot of time, they would. I wouldn't have to ask them. They'd volunteer for it. And like you create an environment where like people who do the shitty roles are exalted by the good players. Like the good players are like, they wouldn't say it like this because it'd be really goofy, but like they would communicate in a way that gives the vibe that's like, I really appreciate how you do more kicks, how you demo shout, how you thunderclap and 4th tank, because it means I don't fucking have to do it. And I hate doing that shit. And I just want to do my rotation right and get the fucking 99s. And you doing that every raid means I have so much more fun. So like fucking hell yeah, dude. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Like
I
that's
feel no.
go
I
on.
will say that I feel like most people would rather have like a 60 parser Andy that never messes up a living bomb in the Gedon than like a 99 that messes up a living bomb every time because he's trying to parse. Like, well, like
Yeah, for sure.
people that are kinda trying that but like don't do good damage. I'd rather have like 10 of those guys than having like the 99 people that like ignore mechanics all the time. There is a lot of ways you can be valuable. Like when you're outside the raid and like you always got that one warlock that is the only one that summons even though you got 4 in the raid. That's a guy you gotta keep even if he sucks. Those things really add up. And maybe the rest of the raid doesn't notice it, but if when you're the guy trying to get it together, you do.
Yeah, one of the guys who got Atiesh in one of my groups, he summoned on his Warlock ult for the entirety of class. He joined the guild in MC and he was like, I want to get an Atiesh. How can I earn it? That's like what he said. Like, I want to get Atiesh. I'd like to be able to earn it. Something like that. And he's like, is there ways I could help? He definitely said, like, I can definitely do things like summon. And he was really smart, which is good because I wouldn't have known how to manage this at the time. But he realized that if he could come up with things that were uniquely valuable to the guild and not ask me to come up with things for him to do for me, that would make him supremely valuable. And by the time Atiesh was a thing to be decided, like, I mean, he'd already been promised it, so he's going to get it. Not everybody realized this. Some people were like, why is he getting it? And I was like, because of what he's done for me in the raid. And like other people didn't get it. It's like a big point of concern in my guild. And I was like, he is receiving. There is no discussion here.
When you're race car Johnny, the guy that tries to get a 99 and doesn't care about anything else, it's a lot harder to tell when people are being helpful in the raid. Like they're saying in chat, that druid that always gets Fairy Fire instead of that Boom King that refuses to drop Fairy Fire because he wants to get that 99 and that one global is too much work. That's the kind of people I want.
Yeah, I think like guilds and guild leaders, they're not trying to create these environments that are so like you want to have your guild set up in a way where when somebody decides that they fucking hate WoW, they still don't want to quit. But like this would be pretty common. So this never happened with me until my last guild where I really feel like I got it right. Usually when people would quit, they will no call, no show and not talk to you again unless you hit them up and ask what's going on. Or they will make excuses as to why they can't make it to raid for a few weeks, and then they'll no call, no show. That's how most people will quit a guild. In my last guild, the way somebody would quit is they'd be like, I hate WoW. I want to give you a heads up. I'll keep raiding for the next like month-ish, but you got to get me replaced in the next month. At any point in time, you can let me know, like, even if it's like 5 minutes before raid, you got me replaced and I'm gone. Like, and I had half the people quit that way. The other half still did it in shitty ways.
Yeah, like
that's I think what you want to have.
I've been on the other side of that a lot, and I feel like when you do that, it's like when you feel like the guild is going downhill for some reason, maybe the guild, the rating is bad, maybe the strats are bad, and you feel like you cannot really point it out. That's when people do that, you know. And of course, you're always gonna get
people
like
just do it because they're pussies.
Oh,
people are just
that
pussies.
too.
They don't want to fucking say I'm.
When I do it, it's because I feel that if I told them like I don't want to raid anymore because you keep messing up this thing and like it makes it really annoying and hard to raid, like the only situation where I don't say it before quitting and doing like a is because I feel like they're not gonna get it anyway. They're gonna get upset anyway. And I'm like, what's the point?
Yeah, if there's nothing you can say that's constructive, it could make sense. But even if somebody's like your boy, most people are embarrassed to say that they miscalculated, like especially like loot counts. People are embarrassed to say like they miscalculated how into the game they are, and they can dodge all of the awkwardness of them not understanding themselves by just not responding to you. Not and like by no call, no showing and making up an excuse.
Yeah, I guess that can kind of be part of it too.
There's really no reason to ever no call, no show. Like anytime anyone ever no calls, no shows, it's a weakness in character. There's literally no other explanation for it. 'Cause it's like it's so destructive and it's like no effort to just say you can't make. But that's how most people will quit. Because it's the most convenient for them because they've already decided the group's worthless to them. So that's why they do it. But it's bad. It's bad psychopathic tendency even, but it happens all the time. So it's not like some great evil. Like people do it all the time because it makes so much sense to do it.
Well, it's like ghosting, you know?
If you don't have a fucking amazing environment, it'll happen with everybody who quits.
Yep. It's just like ghosting. You know, like in this day and age, that's what people do when they don't they wanna say about their awkwardness. Back in the day, you can't because they are in front of you. But like we kind of been trained that way for years now, so I don't think that's gonna get any better. Just don't answer. I swear to God, I open up my phone sometimes and I get 100 messages and I get like such a burst of anxiety right there, and I don't want to deal with it. I've been fully converted to the ghosting meta.
It's funny.
Yeah, I miss the time before phones a lot. I do not miss the time before the internet, but I really do miss the time before phones. That's for sure.
Yeah, I haven't really quit very many raid groups without it like being like after having a meeting with a bunch of officers, because usually it's either I am canceling the raid group and I'll ask if anybody wants to try to run it, and there's usually somebody who says they will and it doesn't work.
Yes.
Part of that is because if you want somebody else to be able to take your raid group over, you kind of have to make the raid group like with that in mind. It has to be a lot more structured than the way I make them. So that's like not a plus for me. It's a negative for like the lack of organizational value. Like if you could make a guild where you as the GM could quit and the guild still functions, that means your guild has like enterprise value, like a fucking company, like it's sellable. Good luck doing that. It's really hard.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think the only way to get that to happen, if you look at something like a guild like Method or whatever, is you gotta put money behind it. And I don't think that would be really nice
it
too.
Probably
like,
has no.
Sorry, you cut off there.
It probably has no. It probably doesn't have it either. I mean, you think of guilds like Apes, like Mytos quits, guild folds instantaneously. Like tons of guilds that are best in the world have no like enterprise value.
Well, to be fair, like I think
different
maybe
with Method though.
Maybe World of Warcraft is really hard to do this because like we got no esports value. I could totally see how like League of Legends teams, like the ones that are off the league, you know, because the ones in the league they get like a guaranteed slot, and of course that's a lot of money. But League of Legends teams that are like off the league, like you can change 5 players and they still got value on them. I just think the people don't really give a damn about high-end raiding. I don't give a damn about high-end raiding. Like I don't even know who got the world's first kill on retail. For years, ever since Method got nuked because that guy touched a kid or whatever the hell he did. I don't even remember, honestly. It wasn't something like that, right?
I think so. I can't remember. It was some weird thing. Somebody messaging girls on Discord, I think. Some
Yeah.
weird shit.
Like
Fucking crazy people.
ever since that, I don't even know who's the guild that is getting all the welfare skills, and I think most WoW players don't give a damn either, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably why guilds will never have like actual value, aside from the now and then when like it actually runs.
Yeah, I think somebody could make a guild. I mean, granted, so like one of the guilds that I quit that I ran, the one that like I quit in like TBC, like that guild still exists, and like that guild has gone through multiple leadership changes, so it has like enterprise value. I would say. I would never want to be a part of that guild, but it has enterprise value. Or if somebody is like, if somebody's like, I became the guild master, like we were raiding and there was a guild master and a raid leader, and the guild master quit, and then the raid leader became the GM, then the raid leader quit, and then I became the GM, and now I'm the raid leader. Like that guild maybe does. Like there being changes in leadership and the guild sticking around, like that's a sign of it. Usually doesn't happen. So hard to make it because it's like you need some kind of culture that like doesn't depend on you. It's way easier to make a good culture that takes the negative of it depending on one person.
Yeah. Like at the same time, I feel like just from the recruiter's perspective, a lot of the time it's a lot easier for me to get a good roster to just start over the roster than deal with the people I already got. Like I can probably get a decent guild running in 2 weeks, just recruiting a new roster. Fixing a guild with issues, that's really hard. Fixing people with issues, that's not gonna happen. And like, what if you take over and you kick half the roster? Is the other half gonna be happy about it? Probably not. Like, sometimes you gotta not throw good money after that. It's really hard.
Yeah, I've joined other raid groups before where like 70% of the team is like good and respectful, and then I end up like in a pseudo leadership position, and I'm like, these people are a problem and they like need to go. They're like toxic and low performers. That's like pretty common. Quite often low performers are toxic. Usually they like feel entitled
Almost
to be
always.
carried. Yeah, like it's very, very common. It's very rare that somebody's like, I'm shit, but I should still be a part of this guild, and I'm sorry that I'm like just not getting it, guys. Almost always they'll say it's not their fault and their performance is fine. Almost always. It's super rare that there's actually like 3 IQ idiots in your raid trying their best, not getting their shit right. Because you'll notice that the low performers, they come unprepared to raid. Okay, that's a giving a fuck issue. You know, they'll be late. They won't know the mechanics of the fight. Like the ideal low performer hits their buttons poorly, does not stand in fire, and just does 80% of the DPS of your good players. Very rare. Doesn't exist hardly ever. Hardly ever.
Yeah, like I seen a lot of like Leo Billies. Like that's why I say Leo Billy, cause like the one guy that is really bad but is really friendly, and like the guy never messes up the mechanics. Like when you hear the comment of like this healer sucks in the raid, like why you ask me? It's like it's never from the top guy, never once has like the best player in the raid has made that comment. They have come to the officers before after the raid and said you gotta get rid of this guy, but like the people that do it in the raid is never the good guy. It's never the good players, never. And like sometimes like just taking over and you still got like 2 officers left over from the old guard and you gotta get rid of those 30% people that are bad. You're not getting that. It's not gonna happen as long as those other 2 previous guys are. That's why I say sometimes starting a new guild is faster and easier than dealing with that. Just not worth it.
Fucking the last one of the last guilds that I played with where I joined and then became the raid leader, there was this one guy who played a rogue, and he was given so much loot. He was like the best geared rogue in the guild, probably, maybe not the best geared. The best geared that had gotten the loot from that guild, because it was on Era. So out of the rogues that had been geared by the guild, he was the best geared, and he was the worst player by like a huge margin. Infinite excuses. He would literally say things like, well, I don't know like how I could be doing anything wrong. I hit the buttons the same, and like, so it's not my fault that I'm doing less damage. Like literally would say things like that are fucking impossible. And one time on this is so funny. This is the story of me freaking out. This guy. One time in the middle of Twin Imps, he just like kept on yelling in comms about like random things that had like nothing to do with the fucking encounter, and like at all while we were trying to kill the boss. And I just like wanted to be an asshole. And I was like, the guys who are screaming their head off in war movies and are like really stressed are never the cool characters or the main character. And he like fucking freaked out at me in front of everybody.
That's funny.
Yeah, but I was like, we got to kick this guy. And the officers in the guild were like, no, we can't, dude. And what was funny is I like quit the guild shortly after that, and that guy like stopped raiding with them shortly after that after getting like dissed.
Always. I think that's
Yep.
probably why the bad players are always the toxic ones, the ones that say those comments and stuff like that, because like they want to protect their ego, and like, yeah, it's the healer's fault, it's whoever else's fault. You didn't get the kicks, I get all the kicks. They didn't get a single kick. That kind of stuff. It's so common. Like whatever you may like assume out of how people work in race is probably not that way. You gotta start really leading your own race, and you're gonna tell really fast. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why
it's
sometimes.
so deceptive too.
Sorry.
No, go on.
No, that's what sometimes you go like, why did this race leader get triggered at something? And it's like, it's not a big deal. And like, it might not be a big deal. But like, the guy saw letting that small deal happen like a month after. And that's what you get. Like, that's why I say all this stuff. Like, I get really upset when people say this healer sucks, even if he's sucking in the raid. That kind of stuff. Yeah, like, because we know the other side of that, and it's not fun.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it doesn't look like a big deal then.
Yeah, I'm happy I haven't seen that in a while, except when I was like running GDKPs sometimes somebody would say something shitty and it wasn't really worth it to usually engage with it.
Of course.
Haven't seen that in a very long time in a guild run, thankfully, though. In any of the guilds I've been in.
I have seen it, I haven't lasted very long in them.
Guilds that I ran. Yeah, when I first got into like running guilds and running raids, I just didn't know, like sometimes stuff like that would happen and you'd see people treating each other wrong, and it's like you have the deer in the headlights instinct to just like freeze because it'll blow over and other people won't blame you for it as the leader. It's very easy to just like let people abuse each other when you're in leadership and do nothing, because most often other people won't blame you for not taking action, even though it is your fault and you can like do things to change it for the better.
Yep.
That's why this shit fucking exists. Like people like it's hard to tell your raid leader that like they're fucking up by not getting in the middle of that shit. And a lot of them, like you'll tell them that and they'll hold it against you forever.
Yep.
And your friends, you'll tell them like, hey, look, this guy's holding stuff against me, you can tell, right? And they'll ignore it because they don't want the smoke either, and it's easier. It's like people being fucking weak.
And you don't learn it until you're 2 months later and you see what happens. You gotta, like, that's how everybody learns it. You gotta wait and eat your guild from the inside out. That's when you realize it's a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
The school of hard knocks.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. It's so easy to not take action. You have to like be so biased to just act if you like want to run a really good guild and a really good raid. Like in raid, it's obvious you can't like clam up. It's much better to be saying like slightly suboptimal strats and like keep people on the same page. If you're like speed running and someone like ass pulls and fuck shit up, it's better to say the wrong shit and say something usually than to like delay and hope that you'll just get the perfect idea in your head and you'll be able to turn it into word.
It never blows over.
It's the same stuff with like running a guild. Yeah, exactly.
Like we had that hope for 3 weeks. It didn't work out. Like this very tier didn't work out. I got to the point where I wouldn't even show up to raid until like they told me, okay, we changed the raid leader. I was like, okay, I'm in back. Is that you gotta really be on top of that.
One of the guilds I joined in TBC after I quit the one I was in, they at first I thought the people running it were like really passionate about it, But then I realized that they're just like really smooth talkers, and that I was just kind of
Ooh.
like hoping to find like a good group, which now I'm good at like knowing, I think, if people are actually like based. But back then I just thought I wasn't. And I joined this guild, and then weird things started happening. Like I noticed that all the officers would go to these GDKPs together, even like when the guild's run would be undermanned. Not like so like on their alts. Like they'd be making time to get their alt set up so they could get into like high level GDKPs, and then not like recruiting or making sure people were going to show up to like the progression raids in Sunwell. And then like a couple raids got canceled. I'm like, what are you guys doing? They like always had like really good explanations, just making shit up. And then they would be really slow to get involved with like any people problems with the guild or with like people's attendance issues. Like we had this is so funny. We actually had 2 people in that guild from Argentina, and they would pretend that they would just randomly not have internet at raid time. And then like
That's such
I
an
would see
Argentine
them
thing
like
right there.
log in. Yeah, but then I like see them like fucking log in near the end of raid time and like log out really fast, like checking their mail or something. I'd be like, I know these people are fucking full of shit. I was like, we got to call these people on this. Like, this is fucking terrible for the guild. I'm like, I don't want to get involved in it, dude. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's how it is in Argentina. I'm like, really? Like, reliably? Like, you think so? Like, doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
It used to be a lot worse, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Like 5-6 years ago, that might have been a real issue. I don't know how long that
Maybe
was.
one of them lived on a college campus. I have a harder time.
There is no
believing
college
it 'cause I think
campuses
they'd
in
have their own thing.
Argentina.
Really?
No, there is not.
Oh, that's weird. I wonder how the fuck that works.
The colleges are state owned. They are like basically like a school. There's no campuses on them. Yeah, I think you got bamboozled, my man.
Maybe, I don't know. I think these people are full of shit. But I was like, yeah, they get like either they need to start coming to raid or they need to be out, because we can't just have these 2 people that dip and then we're at 23 people trying to do progression like every other week.
Yep.
Like
those
they
little
wouldn't care.
things,
They were
man.
just hoping it would get resolved.
Those little things, they never blow over. They always bite you in the ass. It takes you like letting it go for 3 times until you learn it. It's not easy to learn it.
They had a guy in their guild that was a arcane mage, and he was their best DPS player, and I knew because I joined the guild, and I was like, hey, this guy's your best player in your guild. And they're like, no, he's not. He might be watching. I'll say his name because he won't mind. Yuki was his name. And I was like, this guy's your best player in the guild, like best, like bar none. He's like, he dies of things all the time. I'm like, yeah, but like he'll die like 15 seconds into a trash pull by AoEing. Like, what are your tanks fucking doing? Like, what is going on here with your pally tank? And like always have excuses. I'm like, hey, why doesn't he get innervates? Like, he's your highest DPS mage. You're giving innervates to a fire mage? You know, he's just not mana potting. Or like, you know, this resto druid is innervating himself and not using mana pots or runes. Like, just weird shit. And then and they would just shit talk this mage, because this mage would actually try to have a legitimate conversation about what was going wrong in the raid, and they hated that and they just held it against him. And I was like, oh, this is why they hate their best player. They need him because he's their best player, but they have no respect for him because he speaks the truth.
It's like
eventually me, him, and a couple other guys left that guild, and we still fucking play together.
In
like,
World of Warcraft,
like,
it's really easy to like shift the blame too. Like the tank dies because he did something stupid, and like it's the healer's fault. And like, how many people are actually gonna check the logs and look if he got healed or not before he died, or stuff like that. Or like an arcane mage pulling because the tanks are not doing enough threat. Like, what the hell is the protection paladin doing? I assume this is TBC, right?
Yes.
That shouldn't happen. That shouldn't freaking happen. He got blessing or salvation on him. That shouldn't happen. I've never seen that happen. They are not even like that good AoE, like compared to other classes. But they are gonna hold it against him. Your AoE too fast.
Yeah, there'd be such crazy stuff. Like, this mage would, if he saw he's like threat capped, he'd be like, hey, can I get a bop? And like it being like, so I can keep AoEing. And they'd be like, why should we give you a bop? And it's like, bro, because it makes the trash faster. Why not give him a bop, you fucking idiot?
It's a 5-minute cooldown, dude.
You fucking drunk moron. That kind of shit would happen to Ray. I'm like, give him the fucking bop. Like, somebody like make fun of him for asking for the bop. I'm like, give him the fucking bop. What are you gonna do? Save it so that way you can bop me a prot war? You know, that fucking upset the fuck out of people.
5-minute cooldown for this guy, the top DPS. Hell no, dude. I might as well save it for trash.
Just nutty shit. And then, what do you know? That guild, we left and it died a few months after.
Yep.
I love when toxic guilds die. It's the best. Fuck them.
I am guilty of checking logs to see when they stop raiding. I have done it before. Usually doesn't last very long.
Yeah, guild I was like that. I couldn't help myself. I don't do that shit anymore. But I couldn't help myself back then.
Oh, no. I am the cold-blooded revenge kind of guy. I am not the getting angry guy. You know, a road rage, no, it's road cold-blooded revenge for me. I will like write down your license number and I will wait. That's the way you do it. No, but for real, it's super satisfying when you see it on Warcraft logs. You open them up one day. What happened to these guys? Oh, they haven't raided in a month. Yes. I've been there. That's right. I'm a bad person.
No, it's fine. It's just it's painful to care about it. Is why it's silly. It's painful for the person who cares. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's painful to care. But also, that only happens if you run into people that you fucking hate. So I'm never gonna do that again. I'm never gonna fucking play with people that I dislike ever again. So I'll never have this fucking problem.
That's one lesson you learned.
So hard for so long
over the years. Like your tolerance for shitty behavior goes really low the more you age, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of it. I think a lot of it's like knowing what's gonna trigger the fuck out of you.
You've seen the other side of it so many times by now that you don't want to mess with it. Period.
Yeah, I won't expose myself to people who I think are going to drive me fucking crazy anymore. But that took me forever to figure that out.
When I was 20, I would have done it.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
All right, Jake, do you want to say something before we go? We kind of went over time really hard this time. I gotta pee.
If you hate your guild, join a new guild. It won't get better.
That's a great one. I want to add to that if you're hesitating about whether you should kick somebody or not, that means you should kick him.
Base.
I think it was Steve Jobs that said it about firing somebody. He was absolutely right. There's never a time where like you hesitated for a month to kick somebody and you kick them later and you didn't like, I immediately feel I should have done this a month ago. Ever. If you're in the crossroads, that means you gotta cross. All right, much love, homies. I'm gonna drop Jake's channel in the chat. You better subscribe to him, or I'm gonna proc sweeping strikes, and I'm gonna hit you on an additional target for full damage. How about that? I'm very nasty.
I'll post yours one sec.
All right, I really gotta take a pee. Much love, homies. Bye bye.
Catch you later, Medina.